I thought maybe what we would do is go around and have people do introductions. If you will introduce yourself and then also introduce your character for us. And when we finish up that, I will also kind of just fill us in on any of the key bits of information that happened last week, both to refresh your memory about that, as well as to kind of fill Brandon in on what has been taking place. So, Jason Tochi, could we start with you?
Sure, I am Jason, one of them anyway. And my character is Drake, pronouns he, him, same as myself. His playbook is the Lord's Secret, a warrior mage. You would recognize him by his strange arcane tattoos and his draconic features. Raised as the sort of adopted child of the noble family, takes to sleeping in the library.
Okay.
Yep.
And can we go to the other Jason, Jason Zanes? Why don't you introduce us to yourself and your character?
I am Jason Zanes. I use he, him pronouns. My character is Martin. He is a young man. His class is called the Heir to a Legend. His father allegedly was a great hero many years ago, and has been training me to use his unique sword. And I believe we had established that my father claimed to have slain a great worm 20-some years ago. And it turned out through a series of events that that was not true, that actually another person had done it, and he had ended up with the skull somehow. And my character is struggling with this realization that his father is sort of a lie, and especially hitting him hard because he was about to marry the miller's daughter.
Okay. David, are you okay to introduce yourself and a little bit about your character?
Yeah. So I'm playing Tanner. Tanner is a young woodsman who really gets up to hunting some of the interesting ecology of this universe. There are a number of flying beasts that are of different kinds of, different kingdoms of animals. So reptiles and mammals and other things that fly and grow to different sizes, one of which might have been that great worm that one of the characters' fathers may or may not have killed. But I get up to hunting those as kind of part of my trade. I trade the skins and furs off of those animals and the feathers and whatever else. And my family was a farming family. We farmed out to the east of the town. We farmed corn and also had a bit of a side business making corn husk kinds of things. And for some reason, no one else likes to farm out east of town. So it's noteworthy that that farm is there, and it's the only farm there. So the farm to the east or to past East Bridge or East Gate or something like that is where I reside.
Okay, good. Yeah, and it is out past Eastgate. Brandon, we have a Village of Icern map that is a Google drawing which people added to last week. Part of what happens during the beginning character creation is that the players, as they're working their way through the playbook, they are adding non-player characters and locations in the village. So, we have Martin, the heir to a legend, who is the son of the local merchant who has this kind of fur and skin business. So that location is located on the map. and we have Drake, the Lord's secret, who lives in the nearby manor / castle, which is not quite on the map, but we have an arrow pointing in the direction where the castle would be. And then we have the young woodsman, Tanner, who has grown up in this farming family. Again, not on the map, but we have an arrow pointing where that farm is out past Eastgate. I guess other kind of key locations on the map, right in the center of town, is you can call it an inn. I don't really imagine that. I think they maybe have 1 or 2 rooms for the occasional traveler, but Heffen's Tier is, for the most part, a kind of meeting hall and dining, drinking establishment in the center of town. We also have the stable and livery run by a guy named Oswald that's in the town. So, we can continue to add to the map, and if there's some location that you want to kind of put on the map, feel free to add it. At the bottom of the map, we have an arrow pointing to Dreadsmoke Peak. That actually would be a location a considerable distance from town. I think last week we said it was about a 2-day journey, but on a clear day, you can see this distant mountainous volcano, perhaps with some smoke coming out of the top of it. And this is where the heir to a legend, Martin, where his father presumably slew the great worm, although the town people have kind of all along been a little skeptical about that story of Martin's father, and Martin himself has come across kind of evidence suggesting that his father is not kind of telling the truth about slaying that worm so many years ago. And Brandon, you picked the Trickster Fox playbook and kind of went on and rolled up on a number of tables. Do you want to go on and kind of fill us in a little bit on the Trickster Fox?
So my character's name is not pronounceable, but somebody called him Wraith, and so that's what anybody calls him. And they call him that because he seems to appear and disappear pretty much when he wants to. He really first showed up as what people thought was a pet of the witch, and has became quickly known in the village as a notorious food thief, but cute. So, there was some people who are vexed at him, but not enough to come after him with a shovel. Well, there was that one incident with the miller, but we're not talking about that one right now. Wraith has come out to a number of people in the village as a talking fox. Probably everybody should know that he's a talking fox by now, but talking foxes are still so strange that I'm sure there are some people in the villagers who are in denial about the fact that there's a talking fox that comes and goes sometimes. But in the difficulty, there was some difficulty that required the town militia to turn out back a little while ago, and Wraith played scout for the village. Perhaps there was one of those big strange beasts, and Wraith tracked it. Wraith's is a gray fox that seems to, as I said, seems to be able to to vanish into the woods the moment you take your eyes off of him. To be able to get into places that he doesn't belong with relative ease. I mean, not locked cabinets and stuff like that, but anything that you thought was out of reach, for example. And who has been a lot of places and seen a lot of things, but it can only be, but it can only be a fraction of the ones that he talks about. He talks about having met basically everyone and seen everything, and that's absolutely not possible. But every so often, you might discover that he really has. Wow, he really has been to, to the Whaling Cliffs and seen it because because some traveler describes the exact same thing, and it's like it was why we're. So it's clear he has traveled all over the place. Talking foxes are magical, of course, and he's magic. Everybody, people who know about such things know that that's why the witch sort of formed a relationship with him and probably told the villagers not to do him any lasting harm. Even when although he's a little difficult sometimes when he's being sarcastic, but he's never really mean about it. Not
Okay.
really. This whole business of trapping animals for fur bothers him. But what's he going to do? He's just a fox.
What about we also established that trade is also like occasionally people see these kind of wyrmlings flying around, these kind of, they might be miniature dragons or small dragons. Would he be disturbed by kind of hunting those kind of reptilian type beings?
He doesn't have a problem with anybody fighting, ferocious animals, whether they're natural or supernatural. It's the skinning and the selling of skins that bothers him a little bit.
Okay.
Because it's like, imagine you saw someone trading in humanoid skins, some troll coming around with a load of, of people, what could possibly be people skins or resembled them rather a lot. And it's like, what? And you go, what? This is nobody you know. And it would still, so that's his feelings towards them. And evidently he learned a thing or three from the witch.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you a question about one of those things. You rolled up on a table. What was the first trick the witch taught you? And she taught you how to reach any spot, no matter how difficult. I kind of was wondering what was it that she wanted you to reach? I mean, was it just a trick, or did she teach this for some specific purpose that she wanted you to get something for her?
She wanted me to let's see. She wanted me to get something that she needed for a potion. Something either that was at the very top of a very large tree, or way up at the top of a mountain in an unclimbable spot.
Okay.
And she said, that she had divined where it was. This very rare. So it could have been, if it was in a tree, it would have been some sort of saprophyte, like the equivalent of a mistletoe, something that happens that's not, of the tree, but grew on a very high branch and is very rare. And if it was in the And so let's say that's what it was. It was an herb that actually grows as a parasite on trees and is rare. And she had found it, and there's just no way to. And she wanted me to go fetch it.
Okay.
So I said, I can do that. I've never seen a tree I can't climb, mountain, or really anything that I couldn't do if I really wanted to.
Okay. Now you travel a lot, but you're at the village.
Yes.
Quite a bit. I mean, like when you're not traveling, like where is your den, or where do you normally sleep? And also would like the sense of Beyond the Wall is that you all know each other and are on some level friends with each other. Okay. With the other player characters. So I'm kind of curious about like where you reside, and with your friends in the village, the humans that you kind of are most have the greatest affinity for, would they know where your den was?
Well, when I'm in the village, I would think that that I don't. If I have a den, it's not anywhere near the village, but I don't really use it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm as likely to sleep under somebody's bed as I am to sleep out in the woods if I'm near the village. So you all know me because I've probably slept in your houses.
Okay.
And you can decide where. I mean, if you fed me, then I'd show up a lot. One of the reasons I love the village so much is it's relatively easy eats than having to hunt it down every time for myself. So I might have a private place that I disappear to, but I don't think I've told anyone where that is.
Okay.
But it doesn't matter because you know that if I'm around, you can find me in one of a half dozen places.
Mm-hmm.
And as I said, any of you would like to feed me, the witch's hut, etc., like that, or any place where I'm likely to get a handout or at least a welcome.
Okay, and also I'm curious about Drake, the Lord's secret, who lives in the castle.
He's fascinating.
Do you ever sleep in the castle, or do you tend to avoid the castle?
I avoid the castle guards because they don't like me. But that doesn't mean I don't sneak into the castle.
Okay.
I think I mentioned I sneak into the castle sometimes so that I can hide up on a beam somewhere and look at Drake. Because it's like wow, look at him. He's amazing. I've never seen anything like him.
I mean, Drake doesn't even sleep in his own room, so you're pretty much welcome to crash there whenever.
Yeah. Drake spends some of his time sleeping in the library, and I wanted to kind of go into some of the events that happened towards the end of our session last week after we created the characters. We were just kind of starting to kind of find out about some strange events that had been happening near the village. Before I get into that, is there, Brandon, anything else about the Trickster Fox Wraith that would be important for people to know?
Let me just double check my note.
I'm curious, is it common for us to meet speaking animals? Or just this fox?
If I get to answer that.
Yeah, I would say
speaking animals are I would say that my opinion would be that speaking animals are a known thing, but they're typically fey creatures. And
Mhm.
so if you meet a speaking animal, you're probably in some place where you oughtn't to be.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I would say not. It strikes me that this would not be a common everyday occurrence to
No.
run into a
So
speaking animal. Yeah.
no, so Wraith is out of place in a way. Um, you know, in an enchanted forest, you expect to find a talking fox, not in a village like this. So Wraith has been drawn here to this village and to meet you all, and he's not really sure why. I mean, he first encountered the village because he he decided that he could steal the witch's dinner without being caught, which didn't work out.
Right. But it sounds like, yeah, but also then established a kind of interesting relationship with the witch, right?
Oh, absolutely. Well, she was impressed by the fact that clearly I was in her hut
Yeah.
for at least an hour before she didn't actually catch me until I made a grab for the dinner.
Yeah.
um, and so yeah, so that's how I'd answer it. Is that a good answer?
Okay, so last week, just some highlights of things that happened last week. Drake had a kind of surreal event that happened to him. He was asleep, had fallen asleep in the library, which sometimes happens to him, and possibly in a dream, possibly it was actually something happening in a library, but his, he was kind of in and out of the dream state. But he heard a couple of voices and heard something about the king being risen once again. And he also seems to recall a name, Hrok the Transborn, that he heard in the midst of this conversation. And Tanner, who is the young woodsman who sometimes goes deep into the forest, I would imagine that on occasion, Wraith and Tanner possibly run into each other deep in the forest. Maybe they even go out there occasionally. But Tanner had been off by himself a couple days previously and witnessed a pretty intense meteor storm in the sky. It was a clear night and there were all sorts of shooting stars, but there was one in particular that he saw kind of way off in the distance that was kind of passed directly overhead as a kind of fireball of sorts. And he heard it land. And the next day, right, the kind of earth shook and he kind of heard this thing whizzing by and then the earth shake. And he took his bearings in the night so that the next morning he could head out to where he think that it fell. And kind of up in the foothills, he found a cavity in a hill where the meteorite had fallen. And he managed to kind of investigate it. And part of the meteorite was kind of broken off. And he kind of went back to the village with that piece of meteorite, showed it to the blacksmith, who was very intrigued by it. It's a metallic thing, and the blacksmith thinks that it's some type of curious metal that he thinks he might be able to melt it and forge it, but it's going to require him doing some extra work to get the forge running especially hot in order to do this. And this kind of plays into one of the things that the group is interested in, is that there's a bigger piece of this meteorite out there, and Tanner and I think the others were thinking, okay, maybe we'll try to go out there to retrieve this. And then the Witch's Apprentice, who I guess we would assume that the witch had been kind of tending to somebody in the castle, so maybe we're going to assume that the Witch's Apprentice has kind of left to help the witch out. But there was a visiting, it seemed like a visiting wise man who was part of a small little contingent that appeared, and there was a conversation that the Witch's Apprentice had with that wise man, where the wise man was suggesting that there was something significant that the Witch's Apprentice had to do, and that there were some kind of key decisions that needed to be made soon by the Witch's Apprentice that would be significant both for her as well as perhaps for the village as a whole. And then I think finally, Martin, the heir to a legend, found the witch sneaking around at the edge of town near, I think, the tourney grounds, and had kind of had a conversation with the witch. I think the gist of the conversation had to do with some doubts that Martin was having about himself and about his father, and was hoping that maybe the witch could share some insight or give some enlightenment or some type of assistance. She didn't really, I think, have anything specifically to address about that, but she tried to calm Martin, and also did kind of give him some medicinal herbs that he has in his possession that he promised would help to clear his mind before going to sleep, and would kind of give him some extra fortitude on the next day.
Yeah, I was looking for therapy, and she just gave me drugs.
Take this and see me in a few days.
Right.
Need some more help. And I guess at the end of our session, there was a discussion about going to retrieve the big piece of meteorite. This would be too big for one person to carry, and so there was a visit made to the castle. The Drake has a special connection with the seneschal at the castle, and made a terrific role during this discussion with the seneschal. You know, Drake, I don't think, has a particularly high charisma, but he rolled a big success, and persuaded the seneschal to set them up with a horse and a cart to kind of help kind of get this piece of meteorite back to the village. And the seneschal, I think, then was I guess intrigued, surprised when they figured out that this was going to be to the north, because the seneschal knew of a visiting scholar of sorts who had kind of gone off to the northern area and kind of come back shaken. This was a woman named Elira who had kind of gone off into the northern woods, not for the meteorite, but to kind of look at some ancient ruins. That she had been off, like, exploring some ruins off to the north, and something had happened that really had shaken her to the core. Something that she was saying was terrifying. It had something to do with those ruins. She said that she was foolish for having kind of gone off there to explore such things, and she was kind of insisting to the others that they would be best served not to go kind of poking around in the north, and certainly not go poking around into the ruins in the north. Now that discussion was, and I want to kind of think about the timing of this, because the friends had met up in the village kind of in the late afternoon. They had kind of gone off to the castle then, and so I'm imagining that discussion would have been in the early evening hour that they had that discussion with Elira the scholar. And Martin, you were not there for that part of the discussion. You had taken the horse and were kind of getting that. Were you still hanging out at the castle at that point? Would you be waiting for them there, or would you have taken the horse and cart to the town?
I think I would have waited for them to come down from talking to Elira.
Okay.
And would it be possible for me to throw in like the usual adventuring gear, you know, like rope and sacks and all that kind of stuff in the back of this cart too, just in case we get into the wilderness and we're like, oh, does anybody have any rope? And nobody has any rope.
Yeah, I think for the most part, some basic gear like that would be fine. I do want to know, like, after that conversation finished up, you were down there with the horse and the cart, and it's the evening now. It was Tanner, when this happened, like, he had gone deep into the forest and was so deep in the forest that he spent the night out there because he knew he wouldn't be able to kind of make it back to the town. So it's not real far away, but it seems like it's going to be a day's journey to get out there. And so in terms of leaving, it's the evening now. You all come down, and you have Martin waiting there with this pack horse connected up to a little cart. And what did you all want to do at that point?
So I suggest we all get a good night's rest. Drake, make that tea. Don't sleep in the library. Get a good night's sleep. And first light in the morning, why don't we, Tanner can lead us out to where this strange rock dropped to the earth.
Yes. I'm not an idiot. I'm not going to, you don't have to tell me not to sleep in the library. I just have to look a couple things up first before bed.
Okay, so you all kind of go off for the evening. Let me ask Drake. I mean, if you are in the library, was there anything that you, in fact, wanted to look up while you're there?
But of course, I'm hoping that there's some kind of information in the library about ruins to the north. Whether there was some kind of ancient civilization there that we're not aware of, or that I don't know much about, or nations or events, histories, anything I can find out about up there, or especially if I can find out anything that mentions a Hrok or anything relating to having been transborn.
Hrok.
Okay. Let me go on and get you to roll.
Okay.
I'm gonna, and you will be able to apply your what is it called? Your forbidden knowledge.
Yes, forbidden secrets.
Forbidden secrets. I am going to apply a difficulty to this. I am going to do a 2-point difficulty to this. So instead of the +4, you'll have a +2 to this.
Okay. So I have to roll an 18 or less then. 13.
Okay. Yeah, you have to do a little bit of poking around, but you do find a book in there that mentions Hrok the Transborn, and it does present some crude sketches of some of the kind of ruins of this kind of ancient civilization that was presumably in this area. The structures tend to be kind of really kind of thick, sturdy rock. They're not particularly beautiful, but they look like really strong structures. And you also find out that this figure Hrok was battling other ancient creatures like trolls in the area. That Hrok was particularly known for kind of waging some type of war of sorts against the trolls, and people kind of seeing this as being. I mean, the book presents it as almost monomaniacal, right? That Hrok, for some reason, had some kind of deep-seated enmity or something that had to do with the trolls.
Not like he heroically battled the trolls, but like, what is up with this guy's beef with the trolls?
He does seem like a formidable. He does seem like a formidable fighter, but yeah, it seemed like there was something like, according to the historian, though, this was like some kind of bizarre animosity that he had.
Great.
People just don't like trolls. What are you going to do?
Apparently not.
So you're off doing that before bed, and why don't we do this? So Tanner and Martin are kind of going from. I think we said it's about like a 45-minute walk to the village. On the way there, why don't I have you run into Wraith? I mean, Wraith, you hear this horse with a cart, and you are outside the village, but somewhere between the castle and the village, and you see your friends Martin and Tanner leading this horse and cart down the road that goes from between the castle and the village.
So I think I would like reach. I got like a keg of like salted pork that we took out of like the castle. So I'll reach in and grab a piece of that and go, "Hey, Wraith, check this out," and throw him something because he seems so fascinated by food. See if he enjoys that.
Yeah. Catch the bite. And okay, I know you're not just taking pork to the castle.
No, we're gonna go.
Cart, he sniffs the air and he goes, "That cart's empty. What do you guys need a cart for?"
Well, we're gonna go to the north and we're gonna check out a fallen meteor.
Okay, just stay away from the ruins.
You know about the ruins?
Sure. Of course I know about the ruins.
What's the worry about?
Oh, I don't know. It's just a lot of the animals are leaving it alone. They're what I hear. Smell, fear. There's been a lot of the rats that usually live around in that area, and the squirrels and things like that. Everything's a little off. Scared. I don't know. But they don't talk, so they can't tell me. And I'm not going to check it out by myself. Why,
Tanner, do you think
that would be cool?
If you know where it's at, you want to go with us? Maybe guide us.
You've got to. If you got me to go with you, you might get jumped by something.
I mean, the ruins.
Anything.
I don't think it's
hiding in the ruins. Could be Draco liches. Could be anything.
I mean, so I've been to the ruins before.
Blood-sucking monsters that leap out of them. Those ruins have a pretty fierce reputation. But they've been quiet for a while. Cool.
So I've been to the ruins before. Do I know anything about them and what I've encountered there? Because I brought this stone back. That was like part of my character creation thing.
Yeah, they tend to be, kind of far off to the north. They tend to be kind of scattered. I would say a lot of them seem to be, even though they are, you know, a lot of them made out of kind of thick stone. These are very ancient. I mean, it's kind of clear, so that even though it looks like perhaps they were quite sturdy at one time, a lot of them are you know, pretty dilapidated and, you know, toppled over walls and overgrown and such. And yeah, I would say that you know, there are stories that people kind of talk about the ancient civilization, and I would say that there's perhaps a lot of superstition about the ruins as well, right? That you know, mothers and fathers tell their kids that, like, if they ever run across these things, that they should stay out of them, that they you know, that there's, you know, something evil about these, that they're dangerous, that there are perhaps, you know, creatures that are kind of lurking in there that would harm them, right? But various types of these kinds of stories that are kind of circulating about these ruins. You have to walk pretty far deep into the woods before you start to kind of encounter any of them, right? It's not like you go right outside the village and they're there. You have to kind of do a little hiking before you start to encounter any of these.
Can we get to the meteor, you know, and avoid these ruins, or we have to pass through some of these areas to get to where the meteor crashed?
Yeah, I mean, you would be able, because as I say, they're scattered about. So, you know, it would, if you were kind of intentionally wanting to kind of skirt around them, that would not be a problem.
Okay.
Okay. But you get into Icern and are kind of going off to your places. And what are you going to do with the horse?
I imagine, is there probably like I don't know, like a stable? I think actually there is a stable on the map, isn't there?
Yes, there is. Yep.
So maybe we can house it there overnight.
Okay. So yeah, there is the stable.
Nice horse.
And when you get there, you run into Oswald, and hopefully I have a picture of Oswald there, the guy who runs the stable. And you know, you get there, and Oswald kind of sees you approaching with the horse and says, "Ah, that's a lordly stallion you got there."
Only the best.
Where did you run across such a stallion? It looks like it must be from the manor.
They stole him.
It's a loner from the noble, the baron.
Aye, and good horse, good horse. I mean, he's looking at the pack horse and says, "Strong and nice cart you got. What do you need a cart for?"
Is Oswald, I think you said before, everyone's kind of a trustworthy character in the town. So yeah. I said, well, Oswald, we're gonna go and get rich and famous.
Rich? I don't know where you're gonna find riches around here. You talking about like gold or something?
Much better. I pull out my sword and I go, you see this dull metal? We're going to go get a huge chunk of something very similar and make ourselves weapons and armor to increase our fame throughout the land.
Indeed. And I don't know of any such mines around here. Like, what are you talking about? And how did you come across such a vein of metal?
I range these woods a lot, and I've come across such a place. So we're gonna see what we can do. And the manor was kind enough to entrust us with this horse and this cart, and we are kind enough to entrust it to you for the evening.
I'd be happy to take care of your stallion. Anything else you want to share with me about this treasure you're after?
I think you'll know soon enough when we get back. Shouldn't take too long.
It's a good thing you talk faster than I do, because I just would have said, no, good night.
Okay, so he's happy to take care of your horse. He appreciates it. I mean, he calls it a stallion. It's a good draft horse, right? And I imagine that the cart is like one of these 2-wheel carts, but kind of makes it so that when you're going through the wilderness, right, and it's a strong horse, so you're right, you're gonna, even if you're going over some kind of difficult terrain, you get a sense that this horse is it Aubrey, the name of the seneschal, that she's kind of set you up well with that. So let's go on and we'll fast forward it to, unless there's anything else somebody else wants to do, but I was thinking we could fast forward it to the next morning. Is there anything else anybody wanted to do at night aside from drinking some tea or getting a good night's rest?
I was imagining just one, more, not really a scene, but just sort of I guess an image of, in the morning when we're leaving, me, kneeling in front of my betrothed, what's her name, Arlene, and and saying, with my sword out and saying, I promise you, I will make myself a man worthy of your hand, and we're both super young, so she eats this all up, all this really romantic, whatever, and then I would just stand and kind of like, jump on the horse and off we go. That's the only thing I can think of.
Okay.
And then you get to me and I'm like, get off the horse. We need that to pull the cart already.
Yeah, the rest of us are like around the corner with the cart, like, how'd it go?
Oh, brother.
And then I think probably on the way, we would probably pick up Drake at the castle. It's more or less on the way, right? It's in that direction.
All right. Well, something's going to happen. Like, who would be the one to go by Oswald to pick up the horse in the morning? Who would be the first one to get there?
Well, it sounds like he is. If he's going to go try and do this little dramatic scene with his lady love, it sounds like he's the first to go grab the horse.
Sure.
Okay. So I would assume this is fairly early in the morning that you would go to get this.
Yeah, first light.
Yeah, and as you approach the stables, Oswald is kind of standing outside, and he comes running up to you and says, Your stallion is fine, but there's a visitor in the stable. For some reason, I've never seen anything like what's in there. The horses don't seem to particularly mind, but there's some type of brute in there.
Are we talking about like a goblin or, a lizard creature, a worm? What are we talking about? A bear?
Okay.
Draco Lich?
It's kind of dark still, right? And he says,
We waited too long, and the Draco Lich came from the ruins all the way to the village.
he says it's dark. All I can say, I don't think it's a bear. It smells. It smells like I don't know, like deep earth or something. And it's big. And he's sitting in one of the empty stalls. And I took one look at him, and I don't know what he was.
I say, Oswald, I want you to go on the road, go east. You should meet Tanner on his way here and tell him to hurry.
Right. As I say, the stallions the horses in there seem to be fine. They're acting calm. They've noticed this thing, but I don't know what to tell you. But yeah, I'll go get Tanner.
Good.
And he goes kind of scurrying off. And Tanner, you would, Oswald would, as you're kind of working your way over, he would kind of meet you on the road going through down to Eastgate. He probably meets you just outside the village and kind of passes on this information to you that there's something in the stable.
Okay. Yeah, then I would come running. So
Hey, Tanner, look, it's Oswald. He's bunched up about something.
yeah, he's got all kinds of problems.
Yeah.
You know you can sleep in the farmhouse, right? You don't have to sleep in the cornfields.
I like sleeping in the cornfield sometimes.
Well, that's your call. I'm just saying.
But not, not during harvest time, obviously, because people make too much noise.
Yeah, I know you don't like all the furs and things I've got drying around. I'll put them away if you're there. I promise.
Well, it's just like I said, but if some goblin came into town, selling human skins.
I know, but I only hunt the flying ones. I don't hunt the ones that run around on the ground.
Have I complained more than a few times? Anyway, hey. All right. So here we are at the stable. And I'm going to... What does it smell like?
Oh, yeah. So you would in particular pick up a smell. And yeah, it does smell very kind of earthy and woodsy. And I'll let you, because you have, if I recall correctly, you have a keen sensibility.
Yes.
Right, with your sense of smell being one of those. If you want to roll, and the way this will work is, let's do this with your wisdom score. And you have that skill, and that's going to give you +2 to your wisdom. And then what you do on a D20 is try to roll equal to or under that number.
A second, let me just get my dice just out of reach.
So let me just look at the character keeper. Your wisdom is 9, and with the keen sense that you're using on this, that would make it an 11.
Would Tanner's backgrounds or his skills help out at all? I don't think I have anything, but maybe hunting. Would that be something he would have picked up on in his hunting experience?
Yeah, I don't think hunting for this one is going to apply.
I've got hunting and alertness, so
it's like,
yeah, and I would remind you, I mean, that the one, I don't think any of those would apply. If anybody wants to, like with your fortune point, you can spend like somebody, if they want to help, they can spend a fortune point to help. And even if you don't have the skill, you can give a +2. Okay, but if not, then it would be an 11 or less is what you're looking for on a d20.
I got a 6.
You got a 6. Okay, so I'll let you know that as you're kind of, sniffing the air, you're picking up on that kind of earthy type smell. And you have not run into trolls very often, but you run into them enough. I mean, maybe I'd imagine maybe there's a couple of times that you've been in the vicinity of a troll. You pick up kind of within that earthy kind of smell. You kind of think that there's something trollish about this.
It's a troll. What's a troll coming into the town? That can't be right. We have to.
It can't be.
Let's go look.
Do you think that's a good idea? All I know about trolls is they rip your arms off.
I'll go look if you're afraid. Fine. I'm going to go look.
Okay, fine.
Wraith is sometimes foolishly apparently not afraid of anything.
So I'll be kind of peeking in the door when he slinks in there.
Yeah.
Now, are you going to be doing this stealthily?
Yes, of course.
Okay, and
it's a troll.
Yeah. Okay, so we'd let you roll on dexterity, and then
I may be foolish, but I'm not an idiot.
Okay, so your dexterity is a 19, and then you have stealth. So, but the rule is you still have to roll a d20 because it says anytime you roll a 20 on this,
sure,
even if you're over that, a 20 is a failure.
I got a 16.
Okay, so you kind of slink in there, and you see the horses, and kind of they actually seem more or less to be. I mean, they seem to be hungry. They seem to be kind of expecting their morning meal, and occasionally you do see them kind of glancing over to a stall, and you see it's dark in here, but you do see a very kind of large figure standing in one of the stalls.
It's a troll.
I
mean, I don't have too much trouble with the dark. I'm not
right.
Not creature.
It does look trollish, but it also looks a little different than what you would normally expect. So I can share with you an image of what you see.
Oh, picture. Wow, that
show up.
Well.
Now, the scale here, I would say the height is probably about like standing like something like a grizzly bear was standing up on its back legs.
Right.
That's about.
Is it all covered with like ivy?
Yeah, it's kind of covered. I mean, it has a very strong earthy smell, and and I would say it's covered with ivy, but a lot of it looks kind of dead. Okay. It's not like, but it's like this kind of dead ivy and stuff that's kind of hanging from him. And he has not noticed you because you've been so stealthy. But you hear him breathing it's a deep kind of.
Is he asleep?
No, he doesn't seem to be asleep. He just seems to be kind of waiting.
Hello?
He kind of looks over. Do you want to be seen when he looks over, or do you want to still be in the shadow?
I'm seen. I have a bolt hole. I have a hole that is large enough for me to jump through and way too small for him to reach through.
Okay, so you have assessed the situation and have your speedy exit.
In case I have to run like fuck, I am ready.
Okay. So he you see him look down at you, and
just as a note to everyone here, foxes are not big.
correct.
Okay, they're not, this is not like a dog or anything like that. Okay, yeah. we are small. My base strength, the Wraith strength is a 6. So I'm looking way up at this thing.
So it looks down at you. It makes some noises. They're kind of deep guttural noises. Perhaps it's saying something, but
not in any tongue I know.
Not in any tongue that you know. There's a kind of grinding noise. And he starts kind of moving out of that stall. He's also kind of carrying with him, it looks like a big bucket that he has. And he's moving towards you.
Excuse me, I'll be right back. and I go and I take off back outside the stall.
Okay. I think we're all probably like
it's like a troll, but it's covered in grass or something, and it talks maybe, but I can't tell what it's saying. And it has a bucket.
Yeah, I imagine we're all just kind of like looking through like a crack in the door, like as this situation is unfolding.
Yeah, and as you're looking, you see that so
everybody looks and sees this thing.
Wraith has darted away. This being, this whatever this is, this trollish thing, continues to walk and looks like it's going to kind of just go and exit the stable out of the main door right now. Like it walks out of that one stall and it's kind of walking its way down towards the main door of the stable.
Hey, no, you can't leave. We don't know why you're here.
Yeah, I think I'll kind of get in front of him with my harpoon and try and menace the creature and be like, "Hey, you stay right where you are."
So what the creature does, so Tanner, you're doing that. Martin, what are you doing at this point?
I think I'm racking my brain of all the stories my dad has told about trolls, trying to figure out what might be true and what's not true about how to deal with them, what their weaknesses are, how to talk to them, what their personalities are like. So that's what I'm doing.
There are legends about trolls. I would say that from what you've heard about them, this one is not acting. There are a lot of these stories where the trolls are kind of really aggressive or kind of ripping off arms and things like that. He does not. He's walking, but he does not seem to be taking an aggressive posture. He sets this bucket down. When Tanner kind of comes up to him, he kind of stops and he will set this big, I call it a bucket. It's a very crudely made thing, right? But it does hold some kind of liquid in it. And he sets it down on the ground and takes a couple steps backwards and he kind of gestures forward towards you and the bucket. And he says something guttural, something kind of grinding guttural.
Like got the spear and I
be like regular trolls and talk some fairy language.
I kind of shuffle forward just a couple steps and like glance down in the bucket and like look back up at him, like trying to keep both in my sight.
Yeah, when you do that, he maybe takes another step backward and again gestures towards you and says something in his kind of guttural language.
What does the buckets? What does the stuff in the bucket smell like?
It also has a very kind
Is
of
it liquid?
earthy,
It was liquid?
muddy smell to it.
You mean like mud?
Something like that.
Or like some mushroom extract or something. I don't know. I've lived with the witch.
Maybe. I mean, yeah. I mean, it seems kind of muddy and smells of the earth. This thing kind of, he gestures towards it, and then he opens his mouth and
Right.
goes like that. He says,
"Fine, I'll taste it."
okay. So you will taste it. Is anybody else? Are you all gonna? Are the rest of you going to wait to see what happens, or are you gonna?
I was gonna kind of put a hand out on Tanner to kind of be like, careful, back up. I mean, we don't want to anger this thing. And then we see Wraith do that. Our jaws drop probably.
It's a trickster.
So does he turn into a frog, or?
So the two of you are going to wait and see what happens.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. Wraith falls to the ground, and
Do I look surprised first?
yeah, he probably has a little glaze in his eye. You see him get this kind of glaze look.
There's this sort of and then.
But he drops to the ground. He's not convulsing or anything. I mean, he seems to be sleeping. While he's doing that, the being will kind of gesture once more to the bucket and is looking at the two of you who are still awake.
Like kind of talking over my shoulder. I'm like, is it want us to drink and then it's gonna kill us in our sleep? This is the laziest troll I've ever seen.
But maybe the cleverest. I'll just bring a bucket full of sleeping potion and get them all to drink it.
I mean, is it like an eating thing? Like, does it make us more tender? What's going on?
Yeah, I'm gonna go over and
Tanner's getting off all the good jokes while I'm asleep.
Put my hand on Wraith and see, is he still alive? Is he, does he seem okay?
He does seem to be alive. He seems to be kind of asleep, but resting peacefully.
So yeah, I'll kind of pick him up and kind of back up again. I think I'll say to Tanner, I say, maybe the witch would know something about this. This is over. I don't understand any of this. Or maybe Drake. I don't know what to do. I'm not going to eat that stuff though.
Yeah, I think I'll just try and pull the fox out of any kind of reach and get him out of the barn and be like, what do we do? Do we just get our horse and leave, or warn someone?
We can't do that. Who knows what it'll do to the village?
Yeah. When you back out, he will step forward and pick up his bucket, and he then will kind of continue to work his way out of the stable. It's still early morning, right? And you maybe hear a couple stirrings in the edge of the village, but there isn't a lot of buzz going on in the village right now.
All the people who have to be up at the crack of dawn are up,
Well, I mean, maybe we just stay out of its way. If we need to, I'm sure we can track this thing easily, right? If it wants to leave, let it go.
What's that thing that Drake's been on about? What's that bee that's been stuck in his bonnet the past few days?
Hrok the Transborn. So I'll say, hey, are you Hrok? Or you happen to know anybody named Hrok?
Okay, you say that name.
Although I guess he hated trolls, didn't he? We didn't catch that part.
Yeah,
I guess he read that last night, so we wouldn't know that anyways.
Correct.
That's all he hears is Hrok.
Yeah, when you give the name Hrok, the being stops. I mean, it was like heading out, and it looked like it was gonna like just pick up its bucket and kind of head out of the village. But if you say the name Hrok to it, it kind of stops and turns, and it lets out a growl.
Oh, take it back! Take it back!
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll definitely give it like, oh, it's okay, just asking.
Yeah, but he's not going to attack or anything. He just but you do get a reaction when you say that name, and then he will just kind of continue taking his bucket out of the village.
Is it like a leaking bucket, or is it like solid?
It kind of sloshes, and as I say, it's pretty. I mean, bucket. It's something that is big and carries some liquid in it, right? It's not particularly well made or fashioned. It does its job of carrying the mud water.
Hewn out of a stump.
Yeah, that's what it kind of looks like. Yeah, that it would be kind of like carved out of a stump or something like that.
Can we grab like a tin bucket from the stable and kind of slurp up some of this stuff that's slopping around?
Like on the ground, like just on the ground. Yeah, so you could do some of that. It would be extra muddy though, because it just kind of gets mixed up with the dirt of the ground. Yeah, so he works his way out. You've got Wraith, who seems to be sleeping contentedly. So what do y'all do?
I guess the only thing to do is to hook up the horse to the cart and put Wraith in the back and make our way to Drake.
Okay. All right, that sounds good. I'm looking at the time right now. Why don't we take a? I have like 9:21. Maybe we'll say like 9:30. Would that be good? And we'll come back, and Wraith will be probably waking up by the time you get to the castle. So it sounds like what you're doing is taking the cart with Wraith. Getting a nice ride and heading off to the castle to meet up with Drake.
Right.
And that is uneventful. And you arrive. Drake, would you be waiting for them outside the castle?
Yeah. Why are you guys so late?
Drake, you won't believe this, but we met a huge troll covered in moss carrying a bucket full of some earthy slime.
Yeah, I don't believe it at all. That was the best excuse you could come up with?
Wraith drank some of the slime, and he's passed out in the back of the cart.
All right, actually, I do believe the Wraith would drink the slime just to see what would happen. So, huh? And what happened?
Well, Tanner kind of threatened it, and it wanted us to drink it, and we refused. So it got up and it started walking away. And I asked it about that guy that you kept going on about, Hrok, the transborn,
Transborn, yeah.
and it growled at us. But then it wandered off.
Oh, I was up late reading, and found out that guy, really hated trolls. Like, came to be known for really like trying to like exterminate them or something. I don't know. So next time we bump into a troll, maybe don't mention him. But also, this sounded that did you say it was covered in moss?
Yeah.
That's not like a normal troll thing, is it?
You tell me.
The last half dozen trolls we saw didn't have any moss on them.
You got any books about that, maybe?
I mean, probably, but we're already running late. I mean,
Yeah. I'm sure we won't run into him anymore.
The horse is okay though.
Yeah. It didn't. The trolls usually eat horses because it wasn't bothering with the horses at all. It was in the stable and it was just sitting there.
I actually have no idea. It was trying to make you drink.
No, it was polite about it. It didn't seem too upset that we refused. In fact, it didn't really react at all when Wraith drank either.
Do you think he's on some kind of like spiritual journey right now or something?
We'll look at him, kind of like raise his eyelids, see if his eyes are dilated. Kind of nudge him a little bit, see if he reacts.
Yeah, he seems for now to still be kind of, as I say, resting comfortably, but still breathing, but just seems to be in a deep sleep right now.
Well, he seems okay.
Oh, right. I guess we could go do some more research on trolls, mossy trolls, or something. Or we could get going and try and make use of the daylight that we've got. What are you thinking?
We got most of the day still. Let's get out there. Tanner knows the way. Wraith seemed to know the area too. If he wakes up, he can help. But I think Tanner can get us there. Right, Tanner?
Yeah, I remember the way. We can definitely get there.
All right.
Yeah, so y'all can head out then if that's what you want to do. And yeah, Tanner, you still kind of remember, you know the woods, and so you kind of direct the group out. It's going to take you the better part of the day to kind of get to where that meteorite was. I would say about an hour and a half. Down the road, as it were. Wraith starts to stir, and I'd say that after about like 10 minutes, he's able to open his eyes. He's a little bit groggy, but he's coming back too. And Wraith, you have had some interesting dreams that have occurred to you. I'm just going to give the dream to you in a kind of series of little vignettes or images, things that you recall when you wake up. One thing that you recall is a scene of a warrior, a strange-looking warrior type, somebody kind of hewing a sword, and I will drop this image in for you. That's what the warrior looked like. But he had a sword, and he was standing on top of a couple bodies of dead trolls, and seemed to be then hewing down another troll. with his sword. And the trolls are big, right? But the warrior was not as big as a troll, but you know, he seemed to be kind of making hay of these trolls. And then you also remember seeing the body of a troll being dragged dragged into some type of kind of underground vault. Okay. The what he was being dragged by seemed to be kind of well, they looked like warriors, not like the one who you saw in that first vignette, but they seemed to be kind of warrior types that were dragging. And the last vignette, actually, I'll give you two more. You remember seeing on a table some type of chalice or goblet that was kind of filled with some type of dark green liquid, and it almost seemed to glow, right? There seemed to be a kind of glow coming out of this dark green liquid that was in this goblet. And then the last thing that you remember seeing was a troll, a kind of more or less regular looking troll. But in the course of a few seconds, you saw that troll changing into something that looked very much like that hulking entity that you ran into in the stable. Okay.
Yes.
So that's what you kind of wake up to. You hear the sounds of the wheels turning, and you're kind of bumping along, and then you've had this kind of strange dream experience.
Whoa.
Oh, Wraith's up. Wraith, are you okay?
Yeah.
You've been out a couple hours.
I'm in a cart in the woods, about 2 miles north of town, and I have no idea how I got here.
So you remember drinking that weird earthy slop? Yeah.
Yeah, actually, it wasn't bad. I mean, it's not something it's kind
Well,
of,
you immediately fell asleep, and the troll wandered off, and we went our way and picked up Drake, and we're on our way to the crash site of this meteor.
Hey, Drake, this Hrok fellow, did he wear a mask with horns in it?
It sounds familiar from the research I was doing.
Because I dreamed about him. Well,
yeah.
I guess it's him. I dreamed about somebody killing trolls right and left.
Well, that sounds like him, all right.
And he was one bad-looking dude. Yeah, with a scary mask, just with eye holes on it, and sort of facial features on the mask, and these weird, twisty horns that are almost like gnarled tree branch kind of things. And
yeah, and I would confirm that Drake, when that kind of description does match up with some of the kind of descriptions. There may have even been a kind of drawing in one of these in this ancient book, right? Kind of discussing the ancient history that kind of seems to kind of match up with.
So he was fighting, he was killing trolls right and left. I couldn't tell where. But then later there were a bunch of trolls that were being dragged to like a hole in the earth, not by him, by some other people, humans. And I don't know if they were going to bury them, or And then there was this obvious potion. Had nothing. I mean, this is it. The dream skipped. Then and then there was this obvious potion somewhere. I mean, it was green and it glowed. You know, pretty dead giveaway. And then I saw this troll, this earthen troll thing that we saw. Did they tell you about it? Did you guys tell them about it?
The mossy troll.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did they tell you about it? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well. Right. And it, the one with the and. So yeah. So I don't know. I mean, it almost seems like that. Some troll drank this potion and then turned into this mossy thing.
And then wanted us to know.
And wanted us to know. Well, cause Hrok's coming back? Question mark?
Yeah, apparently.
Okay.
Apparently he was a king, is risen.
Oh, and the trolls know about it. Or at least a troll knows about it. Or something that used to be a troll.
I could see it would be a source of concern if you were a troll.
This thing kind of smelled like a troll and not. So it makes perfect sense that it's a transformed troll. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. And it's not what the Fey trolls look like either. You know? And by the way, and they can talk too. I don't know if regular trolls can talk. I never hung around long enough to find out. But this guy must have wanted us to drink so that we'd know that trouble was coming for them. But why would they do that? Asking for help? Why would they assume that we would help them?
Well, my dad says that you can tell what a dream's about by how you feel when you wake up. Do you feel scared? Do you feel like you need to help them, or do you need to hurt them? What do you think?
Well, I mean, I can tell you, I mean, the dream was full of emotional stuff. I mean, the Hrok, or if that's what he was frightening. You know, it was almost like, you know, from the point of view of a troll, you know, watching other trolls getting killed. And the troll bodies were almost like they were just being taken to be dumped somewhere or used or something like that. It was just a big pile of them, and it was kind of disgusting. I mean, not from the point of view of that it was in itself gross, but it was profane. Yeah, that's a good word. I think that word means that word, what that means. And then the potion, I mean, it was a magic potion. I don't know. There wasn't any emotional content associated with that. And then there was this troll not troll at the end that we saw. Which it's an earth potion. It's got to be an earth potion because it's green, and because the horses didn't bug out. You noticed that, right, Tanner, Martin?
Yeah.
The horses were not freaking out. Okay, if a troll had been in the stable, the horses would have been kicking at the doors to try and get out. Because trolls eat horses, among other things, and anyway, they smell wrong.
So maybe
wrong. So this thing smelled like nature.
Yeah, I don't think it was an accident. It happened to show up the morning that we headed out out to the north here, where this Hrok supposedly has his, I don't know, wherever, his stomping grounds. Is it a cry for help?
Jeez, if only we had some druids around. Because there's nature or wilderness magic going on here. I mean, it reeks of it. Now that I think about it, so, but I don't know that kind of magic. I mean, other than a creature of the wilderness, blah blah.
So at this point, if you want to, we could end that scene and we could fast forward a bit. It would be a rather uneventful day of travel. There may be some spots where it's difficult for the horse and cart a little bit, but you're able to kind of manage things. And Wraith gets his full senses back. You seem to be as right as rain after a little bit, and can hop out of that cart and walk along. And I would say in the middle of the afternoon, Tanner, you notice the geography, you pick up on some landmarks, a big tree over there, right? You kind of see up in front of you some of the it starts getting a little bit more hilly. So you kind of recognize that you seem to be getting close to the spot where the meteor landed. And let me get, since our fox friend has the keenest, well, do you have a keen sense of, I'm trying to remember your keen senses. Is it smell and sight?
They don't say. It's it could be smell, sight, and hearing, or if you just want it to be two senses.
Yeah, no, it's in one page it says they have keen eyes and incredible sense of smell, and it's especially those two.
Okay.
So let me just get one of you to this would be wisdom. Who has the best wisdom score?
Tanner.
He is young but wise.
And he's got alertness too, so that might be help.
And that would help. So let me get Tanner to roll, and you can use your alertness skill.
Okay.
And roll with the wisdom with the +2 that you get for your alertness.
Okay, so that's 15. I got a 12, so we're good.
You're good. As you're kind of getting what is kind of close to this area, your ears pick up in the distance some faint screeching noises, and you would identify these noises as kind of the noises that wyrmlings would make.
Okay. How far away or how big do these critters sound?
They seem, when you first pick them up, that it's kind of faint because it does seem like they are far away. I would say that the noises, as you kind of triangulate a little bit with your sense of hearing, they seem to be coming pretty much directly from where you think the meteorite is.
Oh, all right. Well, something might have been attracted to our shiny. I'm gonna. Who wants to join me? Try and scatter him off.
Yeah, I'll help you.
Can't have wyrmlings attacking the horses. I mean, horses aren't exactly
Wyrmlings.
Wyrmlings aren't exactly horses' favorites either.
Would we know a way to scare them off rather than actually having to fight them?
Do they speak?
No, I don't think so.
I would say no if it was up to me.
No, they're just beasts. I mean, they're vaguely draconic. They're just annoying pain in the asses. And they make a screech that'll set your hair fur on end.
I know they love to eat horses, so we want to keep the horse away from them, maybe. And if we make some loud noises, maybe we can drive them off. That's what my dad said. If you meet the small ones, drive them off. The big ones, you got to kill them. Sorry, Wraith, but sometimes you got to kill a creature.
I'm not. Wyrmlings are. I don't like wyrmlings. You can kill them all you want.
We're in agreement. So yeah, maybe we kind of sneak up there and try to drive them off with some noises.
Make some noise, and if they run, they run. If they don't run, I'm gonna kill them.
Okay, so who's going up there? Are you all? I mean, are you tying up the horse? Is somebody staying back with the horse? What's the setup here as you approach?
I think the only question mark is Drake. Are you going to stay back, or do you want to go up there with us?
I guess I'll hang back with the horse. I was going to try and talk to them.
Try.
I have been studying the ancient language of the worms. I just don't know with complete confidence that a wyrmling would respond to it. That's all.
Kind of madman's trying to make a language out of their screechings and chitterings.
It's like talking to squirrels, isn't it?
I've spent a long time in the library.
And how does that end up in a library? That just sounds like some lunatic ravings. I mean, I know I can't read, but I think you could read better things than that.
There's a fairly...
Hey, that library has some pretty good books in it. Don't knock the library.
There's a fairly extensive pronunciation guide in this one book.
Come on, let's hear it. Give me your best wyrmling.
I don't know that it's wyrmling.
Okay.
Fine.
Wait, you said that wyrmlings are making noise, Tanner? Tanner, you said they're making noise, right?
Yeah, they're making noise.
That means they're screwing with something, right?
I mean, sometimes. I don't know. Sometimes they just make noise.
Bastards.
They're like birds. Sometimes they just make noise.
Yeah, birds are annoying too.
How about this? I'll go up. I will talk to them loudly, and that will be a loud noise, but also talking. Maybe it will work. I don't know.
Better tie up the horse then.
All right, fine. But if it doesn't work, I'm killing them.
Fine.
All right, Drake. We'll do it your way.
All right. I'm drawing my sword and walking up boldly, and I will get like right up close and shout commandingly.
All right, and are the rest of you kind of walking behind as he's kind of trying to work his way up?
No,
Yeah,
I'm gonna try to get there ahead of him, so in case there's something really, really wrong going on, I can give warning.
Okay.
Yeah,
So-
maybe have Wraith kind of peek it out, and then we'll follow Drake.
I am the scout.
Yeah, he's a sneaky guy.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So as I say,
but I'm not going to do anything unless it's something besides just a pack of freaking wyrmlings.
so Tanner picked up this, and it seemed like they were still far in advance, right, when he was able to pick this up. So you all start working your way up, And at one point, you see flying up into the air a wyrmling. I can give you a picture of the wyrmling here.
They are known to fly,
So, some wyrmlings fly, yes.
kind of like ants.
big ants.
Sometimes they do it only in season.
Does that show up for you? Does that look like a...
Yeah, wow. It's bigger than I expected. Scarier.
Well, okay, yeah. So let me give you a sense of scale. I mean, it looks like the body part would be maybe like the size of a mastiff. Okay, like
all right.
a big dog.
That's
the body part, right? And then it has
still
these
scary big.
wings.
Okay.
So in other words, they're huge.
For you, they are huge.
They are. They're completely huge.
But this one flies up. Let me just check my picture out here so I can describe this. There you go.
Geez, if there are a bunch of these things, get ready to run.
I think we could get about 10 gold for the skin off of that one, Tanner.
It is carrying. I mean, when it flies up, it's kind of laboring under some weight, and it has its front two arms around something, and it flies straight up the best it can, and then kind of goes down in a kind of dive bomb move, and you do see it release. You know, it flies down and then it releases this thing that it's carrying, and you hear, I wouldn't say it's exactly an explosion, but you hear some impact.
It's dropped. It dropped a
that it makes, and Drake, you think you hear a screech, and you think it kind of matches up with the word hit in some type of worm speak.
Okay. When I turn around, I'll be like, they said hit? Mm-hmm.
And this is the meteor site that they're at? Is that right? Is that where this is all happening? Okay.
Tanner would be able to identify this as seeming like it's in the meteor site area.
Can we tell what they're dropping the whatever it is onto?
Yeah, I mean, you can work your way up.
I guess Wraith was going to be kind of scouting it out first, so maybe he's the one that's there right now.
Yeah. And I don't think this even really needs a stealth roll. Wraith, you are able to kind of finally see, you kind of crest a hill, and you're able to kind of see, and you can pick up the noises of these wyrmlings. There's like a little small crater-like place, which is where the meteorite hit, and you see there are two wyrmlings there, and they are very focused on some big lumps that are kind of in that crater. They you know, when you see them down there, they're kind of like, they have these horns, and they're kind of knocking some of these big lumps with their heads. You also see off to the side a third wyrmling, which is not moving.
Not moving, like it's been killed.
Yeah, it's either dead or sleeping a very deep sleep. Which is kind of, if it's sleeping, it's kind of incredible because the other wyrmlings are so loud.
Right, but if it's dead, I probably smell blood, even if it's just a little bit.
Yeah, if you want to roll your keen sense here to see if you can
One.
Oh, that's like a critical. Yeah. So yeah, you kind of pick up like the scent of like blood and maybe even some maybe really faint, a little bit of decomposition, perhaps.
Okay.
Maybe a little early for that. It would have to be a very faint little bit.
I'll come back and tell everybody.
Well, they seem really persistent about whatever they're trying to do.
They're trying to. Well, they're trying to screw with chunks of the star that fell from the sky.
Yeah, I've never heard of them showing any interest in rocks.
Well, it's not a rock, right?
Yeah, I guess it's
a star.
Yeah. I still say,
like rock. It smells like metal.
Drake, you want to talk to him?
Oh! Now you want to talk to them? Yeah, no, I'd be happy to.
There were two of them, and the third one has been dead for a while.
Yeah.
I don't know if they.
I know that they will occasionally kill each other for various reasons. Who knows? But
maybe they were fighting over chunks of the star.
Yeah.
Anyway, go for it, Drake.
Yeah. I'm sure it'll be fine. They won't think that I'm one of them, or whatever. Hold on.
Ready to like.
I'm gonna talk. I'm gonna talk to
kill
them.
these things.
So I'll get.
And you would see one more of these maneuvers where one of them takes off, like it goes straight up, and then does the dive bomb, and from here you would see that what they're doing is they're picking up like a smaller piece that is broken off, and they're using it as something to kind of try to pulverize a bigger piece of it, right? That they're kind of going up and then dropping down and trying to kind of hit the bigger piece with this piece of meteorite.
And are they doing anything with those chunks? Are they eating them or hiding them or piling them up, or
they were just poking
breaking
them with their horns and moving them around and picking them up and dropping them.
Before I go over there, are you more interested in just getting them to leave or in getting information from them?
Find out why they're if they can.
All right.
Find out why they're doing this.
I got it.
What do they want with a star?
Just remember, we came here to get that stuff, and they want it too. So
they want to play with it. Who knows? It'll be fine. Hold on. I want to walk over and just, in my best worm speak, go, why hit?
Okay, so you say that, and the others, you're standing there watching this.
I'm concealed watching. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Yes, I am watching in fascination.
So when you yell that out, the two wyrmlings stop what they're doing, and you see them look at you, and you seem to pick up something that sounds like what would be translated as like foe or enemy as they look at you. Oh, you're muted.
I'll briefly, excuse me, wyrmlings, and turn around and go, it didn't work. It's bad. They don't like me. I'm gonna draw my sword and just shout, "You go!"
Yeah, I'll back that up.
I don't know if that's like a command type thing, but let's cross fingers.
Yeah, I try to drive them off.
Yes, everybody who has long pointy things, waving them at the wyrmlings.
Yeah. This pointy, you go! I'm not good at this language yet, you know?
Yeah.
I'll like bang my sword on my shield, to make a good clanging sound.
Yeah, with Drake, they kind of cock their head a little bit. They kind of like as you're trying to kind of say something. But one of the wyrmlings is going to stay on the ground, but start to approach you. The other wyrmling takes off and kind of flies up. So tell me what you all want to do at this point. And they do look like they're not going to be friendly wyrmlings.
I'm going to jump forward and slice at it, the one on the ground.
Okay. Tanner, what are you going to do?
If there's one up in the air, I'm going to try and get it with my harpoon.
You're going to try to throw it? Throw the harpoon?
If I have to, but if I can just stab it, it's a fairly long harpoon. I don't know how high up they're getting.
Okay. And what about Drake? What do you want to be doing at this point?
I'll the one that is on the ground and coming towards me.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a sword. I'll basically be like, you want some or whatever you say in word. Yes.
Okay.
You go. No fight. I win.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm ready to attack that thing as soon as it gets in range, basically.
And Wraith, what are you going to be up to here?
Hiding.
You're going to be hiding. Okay.
Bearing witness.
Bearing witness.
I'm not tangling with a Dracolich. Thank you. Whatever. The wyrmling.
Okay. So one thing to just remind you of that you have your fortune points still, and the fortune points can be used for 3 different things. You can spend one to re-roll if you want to re-roll. You can spend one to help somebody, even if you don't have a skill, right? Normally a skill you can kind of use to help, but if you don't have a skill. And then the third one is that you can use a fortune point to cheat death. So if you drop down to 0 hit points or below and still have a fortune point and want to use it to stabilize yourself, you can use the fortune point for that.
What would make you think we'd need to do that?
All right. And so let's take care of the wyrmling on the ground first. And what is your initiative?
I have 2.
Okay.
Also 2.
All right. So the 2 of you will be able to go first. And the way that this works is you're going to roll a d20, and you will. What are the modifiers here? For you're using your melee weapons. So if you have a strength bonus, you would get to add that. If you have you would have a base attack bonus. Is that on your sheet? Okay, so you're going to add that. Any strength modifier. Warriors add, if you have a weapon specialization as a warrior, you would add that.
Yeah, that's what I got.
Okay. So
all right, I'm going to go ahead and roll.
Yeah, and add your
modifiers.
Yeah.
So I got a 15 plus 3 is an 18.
Okay. That will for a hit.
I do D8 plus 3 damage, 1 for my strength and 2 for my specialization.
Okay.
So I got an 8, so I do 11 damage.
Okay. That is effectively going to neutralize this opponent. Do you want to just quickly describe how you see this going down?
I think I've probably fought quite a few of these in the day. These seem a little bigger than usual, but I know that the weak spot, so I go forward and I just jab it. I get pierce, the weak spot and pretty much kill it in one blow, real quick.
Okay.
Save the skin.
Yeah, and I guess Drake, you pick up as it gets that blow. Something that is you read the special appendix on the 4-letter words in kind of worm tongue, right? And it's obviously kind of emitting some type of curse, right, when this happens. And that leaves this other wyrmling. And Tanner, this one has flown up, but after a point, it has achieved enough altitude that it is now flying down at you, and it is bearing that horned head very prominently. And so let's for this we'll do the initiative. What is your initiative?
2. Looks like.
Yeah, 2 looks like.
Okay. So you will get to take the first hit here. You can decide whether you want to it's obviously it's very apparent to you what it's going to try to do. It is going to try to ram you, and it's coming down at some velocity at this point. So with your harpoon, I guess you could either try to be holding it out, or if you want to be trying to throw it at it, you could do that.
Yeah, I think I'll try and hold it out and let it kind of impale itself, and maybe even try and get some swing behind it to really drive it in.
When do fortune points regenerate?
It says in the rules after an adventure.
And
So I guess we would, to some extent, the GM would, I guess, determine when the adventure is completed. Okay. All right. So go on and if you want to roll your D20 and apply any, base attack bonuses and any other modifiers.
Okay. So I got a 11. So I think I'm good, right?
I think you add your strength mod.
Okay. So you roll a d20, you add your strength modifier.
And if you have a base attack bonus, you would
no,
add
he's a rogue. I don't think he does.
Yeah.
But you have a +2 for your strength, right? So that's a 13.
So it's 13.
Am I still trying to roll under?
No, with attacking you want to roll high.
Just to be confusing for attacking, you want to roll high.
This is it's like D&D kind of system where you want to roll high in some things and low on other things.
Correct. Yeah. So like saving throws and combat, you want to roll high, and the ability checks you want to roll low.
Okay. Well, kind of right there in the middle of 13. So.
Okay. You kind of graze it, but do not get a solid hit. Okay. And so it is going to see if it hits you at this point. So what is your AC?
12.
12.
All right. I do with my roll for your party. I may have to. My roll for your party is not up, so let me get my D20 out here. Okay, so I'm just going to roll this, and let me see what this has. This has a +1 to hit. And you said your AC was a 12?
Yeah.
Okay. It manages to ram you, and you take 6 damage from that.
Ouch.
I mean, it is a solid hit. I mean, it right with its velocity. It gets 6 damage, and so the two of you are now kind of squared up next to each other. Let me go to Wraith. You've been kind of standing there. Do you want to continue to hide, or is there something that you want to do at this point?
I'm taking an action in response because I've been as Tanner reels back from getting slammed by the wyrmling, I'm going to I'm going to kind of scamper up to him, jump up, and lick his face. And you get all 6 hit points back.
All right. Magic licks.
So
It's healing touch, but it has special effects. I said, "You're fine."
Okay. So that's your spell that you're.
That is in fact my spell.
Okay.
All
right. All right. So
it's perfectly obvious that something strange happened to anybody watching.
Okay. Well, let's then, since Tanner is right next to the wyrmling, we'll go to the next round of combat. And Tanner, you would have initiative here. What do you want to do here at this point?
Is there something you have to do to change your stance? I see that's a thing on here. Or is that not something you have an opportunity to do in the middle of a fight? You have to do that kind of.
Change your stance in terms of what are you wanting to accomplish here?
Well, I mean,
I think you could just do that at the beginning of any round.
At the bottom of the character keeper, there's all of these stances.
There's all these different stances that give you different hit and different AC values besides the base values.
I didn't see that in the rule book. I think it's something, I don't know if you put it in there, Robbie, or if you got the character keeper from someone else, but
yeah, that I don't know what I just am looking at that. Yeah, that was not mine. Yeah, I don't know what that is.
It's from some other game, probably.
Yes,
or a house rule that somebody has.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
You got healed up, by the way, David. You're up to 9 hit points again.
Okay, yeah. I think I'm just gonna try and get this wyrmling kind of on its back or on the ground and try and get my spear up over me and down on it.
Okay. Let's just do this. On this system, that really is just a kind of straight up attack again. So you're able to kind of take another stab at it with the harpoon.
Well, that didn't go great. I got a 2, so yeah.
Okay. And then wyrmling will get its attack, and then I'll then move to the people who are a little distant from this to see what they want to do. He's rolling quite well. Now this is a bite he is doing. This isn't quite as forceful as his ram from the sky, but you take 4 damage from a bite, kind of as you're stabbing it and you miss it, it manages to see that nice juicy arm that you have offered to it and kind of clamps into the arm and is kind of thrashing it a little bit. So Drake and Martin, what do you want to do at this point?
I'm going to run over and try to slice it.
Okay. You can do that.
Okay, here we go. 2 + 3 is 5. I imagine that's nothing.
No, that is not. It kind of just goes kind of glancing off.
Why aren't you killing it?
He was maneuvering it, so I could run over and try and run over and slice it.
Right. I'll drive it left.
I rolled a natural 20.
Bam.
Yay.
Okay, yeah. So
That's the kind of killing we're talking about.
yeah, that's a pulverizing attack. What is the maximum damage you can do?
It would be 9, I believe.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, you are perhaps because of the distraction of
maneuvering.
Yeah, you are able to kind of like really approach it and kind of do that kind of maximal attack. What does that look like? It's going to kill this thing. It's
basically rushing over, and while the thing is kind of like turning to be like snap at him, just sort of plunge into it with a long sword from behind. Like, yeah, I totally planned it like that all along.
okay.
It's just thanks for the assist, buddy.
Yeah. So you do that, and you know you get another one of the 4-letter words of the wyrmling tongue that gets kind of muttered, and you know when you plunge you're using a sword. Is that right? Yeah, I mean that you know, right, that this is a kind of going to be a very effective blow. And so the thing kind of keels over. You also, when it does that, Drake, you notice that, you know, about a foot away from where you plunged this in, that this wyrmling had already suffered another stab or slice, right? You see another kind of significant wound on this wyrmling's body.
I'll kind of look at that, thinking for a moment, and finally break down and be like, "Oh, okay, fine. Just so you know, I definitely got the killing blow on this, and heard it swear at us. They can do that. But what do you think of this?" And I'll point out the other wound to them.
Does it look like a blade or a pipe?
It looks like a blade.
I'll go look at the other one that's already dead. That was dead when we got here. Does that one look like it was killed by blades also?
Oh yeah, the other one, yes. The one that has not moved.
Right.
Yeah, you see some definite kind of blade type wounds that are on that one.
Tanner, you okay?
I am not having a good day of this.
You gotta wash that thing out. It's got worm spit in it. Want me to lick it?
If you insist.
Do we have a line or veil on this?
The animal licks.
Romance between characters.
You two legs never lick your wounds. I don't understand that. It's like, you know, if you'd rather clean it some other way, that's fine. But it's
I don't know if there's a stream around here or anything. As long as you're not trying to eat me.
no. Ick.
Well, I'm gonna start skinning them, I guess.
Okay. So you know you can set to work doing that. This is something that you have done before. It looks like these would be pretty nice wyrmling skins that you would be able to take from these. What are the rest of you gonna do while he's off?
I'm gonna look at the star.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll join for that. Actually, I want a closer look at this stuff.
It's so cool.
And Tanner, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, I mean, I'll kind of see how much of the stone is broken up, but I'll probably be helping get skins.
Okay, so those of you who go over to look at the meteorite area, what you see is there is a very sizable kind of piece of meteorite. There are a couple kind of smaller pieces, which are kind of like what you assume would be the pieces that they were using to try to kind of pulverize the bigger piece. And you also see kind of moving off from that area what's clearly indications that there's been something big and heavy that has been dragged off from this area.
You mean another chunk of this?
Perhaps, right? I mean, that seems like definitely in the realm of possibility.
Dragged off. Okay, and this smells of metal, right?
It does smell of metal. Yes.
Okay, right. Okay, so it'd be easy to tell if they've dragged a big chunk of metal because the ground would smell.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, and yeah, you would pick that up. Like if you go sniffing around, like where it's been dragged, yeah, you can kind of pick up the smell of that.
do they pick it? Does it get picked up at some point, or does the drag marks go on for a while?
It goes on for a while.
Okay, I'm not going to follow it all the way. I just want to be able to. Hey, somebody took a chunk of the star. Somebody with hands, probably.
Is it the chunk that I took?
No, a big chunk. Look here. See this where the grass is all smashed down?
Huh. Well,
There was a big chunk of this. There was a big chunk of star right here that must have broken off, and someone dragged it away.
Are there any identifiable tracks of whoever it was dragging it?
Does somebody have a tracking?
Tanner has hunting.
Mm-hmm.
I have survival.
I have survival and just the senses.
Yeah, let's get. I mean, that hunting seems like kind of because hunting would involve a lot of times some type of tracking. So if Tanner, if you want to roll, and let's do that with I'm thinking intelligence.
okay. Well, I rolled and got a 2 again, so I think we've got it.
Yeah. So that is a good roll, and so you can see the in the ground where this is being dragged, you see some what look like kind of boot marks in there.
Like human-sized or troll-sized?
That they seem like human size.
Okay.
You would guess maybe 3 or 4 pairs. I mean, like if you're trying to figure out like how many of these are here, you would guess like maybe 3 or 4.
Huh. There's not another village anywhere nearabouts. Where'd 3 or 4 people come from to try and haul this away?
They must have seen the star, but it hasn't been very long.
No, it's been a little more than a day. Where did they come from?
Well, I say we go and get our meteor from them. That's what we're here for, right? Gather up these chunks, throw them in the cart, and go to them. And you found it first.
Yeah, I mean, just because I found the pool doesn't mean I get all the fish. Let's get what we can, though.
But it's weird.
Yeah, it's strange. I don't know where these people came from. They didn't come from the village.
I mean, right. I mean, we got here this quick because we're close. Is there anything else close here?
Do you think they came from the ruins?
Ooh.
I mean, I haven't seen anybody in the ruins, but
It's close enough.
I can't remember. Did Elira say it was okay to go to the ruins, or did she tell us to stay away? I can't remember.
You don't remember?
I guess I wasn't even there, but
Man, maybe
Well,
Drake
I
needs to
told
write
you-
it down so we remember.
I told you that there was something in the ruins that was scaring the squirrels and stuff.
that's true.
I mean, she was having a really bad day, so I would interpret it as more of a friendly warning that if we go to the ruins, we might have a bad day too. But she didn't leave with treasure.
It must have
So
been. It must be the ruins.
I mean,
But I
what
don't
you
know.
tell me, Hrok doesn't like trolls, but he doesn't really have anything against humans, right? Right?
he didn't seem like a nice guy, but I don't know. I don't like the idea. The whole king is risen thing seems a little. I don't. How many kings do we really need?
Stars are magic, right? I mean, a little. They're used for magic things, right? Star metal.
Do you guys sense magic off of this stuff?
Well, no, I mean,
good question.
That's a good question. Is it
Yeah.
magic?
Yeah, we get sense magic. How's that work?
Yeah, I think the sense magic, you just concentrate.
Yep. So I'm going to do that.
Yeah. So you're trying to kind of sense magic on this thing, and yeah, it doesn't seem to really radiate what you would identify as being magical.
But it's often used for magic, right? Star metal.
I mean, certainly you would know that magic objects could be made out of, could be attached to things.
And I pull out my sword and I say, this is my dad's sword, and he says that it was made out of a meteor that dropped, 20 years ago. And I'd say it's magic. I bet we could, make something magical out of this.
Well, no, I mean, I'm just trying to figure out why somebody who lives in the ruins and might or might not be Hrok would come here and drag off a huge chunk of the star, unless they had a use for it, right?
I mean,
they knew it was going to come here.
I'm guessing it has some power over trolls, or they're going to forge some weapons to fight against trolls. That seems to be what he's all about, this Hrok character.
How do we feel about that?
I'm a little wary of anybody who comes back from the dead just to kill other things.
I mean, is there another reason to come back from the dead?
Was that? Oh, is that? Oh, so if he came back from the dead,
like
for other reasons, that would be fine.
If they came back from the dead to
Look,
came back
you guys are telling fairy stories.
At his favorite restaurant.
Hey, I would love to tell you about what the afterlife is like. It's like, all right, well,
nobody ever does that.
I mean, you guys are telling fairy stories.
No
it's
one
just
stories ever comes back and says, "Hey, guess what?"
It's just something. It's just something that you read in a book, and yeah, I get it. We saw a troll earlier, and you're having a weird dream about something you read in a book. But what's that got to do with this guy being in the ruins or anything? There's nothing like that. Besides, there's 3 or 4 of them. It's normal sized people looks like. They're just
right.
It's probably just some bandits or something that
nice people with him.
Let me get this straight. In the span of a couple days, I happened to hear the name Hrok, transborn. We scare multiple people by uttering those words to them. And before I even say anything to our Vulpine friend here, he falls asleep and has a dream about this character before I tell you about his crusade to murder the trolls. And you're saying it's a fairy story after we've literally met fairies, like they come to the tournament and do trickster junk.
I'm just saying,
it's a fairy story.
I'm just saying, like, what's that got to do with anything being in the ruins? Look, I'm just a normal guy that kills flying lizards and skins them, and y'all are trying to get all up in here with strange dreams about troll
I
hunters.
think you're special.
Look, we need to, no matter
No,
what
I
it
mean-
is, we need to check it out because this is less than a day's march away from our village.
It's true. If somebody's making weapons, if somebody's in the ruins and they're making weapons near our peaceful village where all we've got is a militia, we better know.
No, I agree 100%. It's probably bandits.
Yeah, I think that if it happens to be an undead monster king returned from the grave to carry out a campaign of destruction, then someone's gonna want to know that. And if it happens to just be some bandits who got a bunch of ore and don't know what to do with it, we can offer to be their brokers and unload it for them. We have a cart.
Well, it sounds like
Well-
we're all on the same page.
Well, unless they picked it up somewhere, we ought to be able to track them back to where they were because they're dragging
Right.
a huge lump of iron.
Yeah, and I would say that, Tanner, you would, kind of just assessing like how much of the meteorite you have in the cart, you would think that maybe approximately that's about probably half of that big meteorite that you left behind, right? That you've got about half of it, but that the other half is not there.
Right. Okay.
So
Well,
what do you want to do?
Do we get
Well,
this
I think if we-
back, or do we go straight to following this trail?
Well, the trail starts here. If we're going to follow it, we have to follow it from here.
I think what Drake was saying, that a lot has happened in 24 hours. I think time is of the essence. I think if we go back and come back, who knows what'll happen in the interim. So let's load this up in the cart. Wraith, if you feel courageous, maybe you can scout ahead down this path and we'll
If I
follow with
feel
the horse.
courageous? What kind of side ass insult is that? I got more courage in one paw here than you got in your whole body.
That's probably true. And we will follow along and find out what's where they took the rest of the ore.
Okay. So you all take that, and I assume you have the skins in there, right? You have 3 wyrmling skins.
Yeah, I wrote that down. Yep.
And so you head off, and let me get Wraith to roll a d20, and we'll see if you can avoid rolling that 20.
I got a 6.
Okay, so you're kind of following it along. You move along maybe a few hundred feet. You start to pick up another scent in the air, and it seems acidic, very acidic kind of smell that you're picking up on. And as you kind of work your way following the dragging path, that acidic smell gets progressively stronger for you. Okay.
Weird.
And we'll kind of go forward to the path kind of takes you between it's kind of like between the hill where the meteorite hit and what seems to be, at least initially it seemed to be, another hill, but when you kind of look at it, you kind of see that actually it's not a hill, but you kind of can see on it, it's very kind of overgrown, but it seems like it was actually a kind of stone structure that's over there, and the path
So it's the beginning of the ruins.
to what?
Beginning of the ruins.
Yeah, I mean, you know, when you start to notice that and you look at it carefully, yeah, this looks like it's some type of old ruin that is now kind of in some state of disrepair and overgrowth. But the path leads into a kind of dark opening in the side of this building, and that acidic smell. The rest of you probably pick up on it now, right? That there's this strong acid smell in the air.
Is it just on the air, or is it on the ground too? Is it like on this trail? Can Wraith tell?
No, it's Wraith would be able to tell that that smell seems to be kind of wafting out of the kind of dark opening.
Out of the okay.
Yeah.
Wraith, have you ever smelled anything like that before? Smells a little bit like the tanning house.
Whichever use anything like this?
Yeah, have you ever smelled that before? That kind of smell? The animals, they warn about that?
Well, I can't. They don't talk to me. But I mean, but yeah, it smells like a reagent almost. Like you'd use like you'd use in crafting, in alchemy. The witch mostly used herbs, but she did have a few weird alchemical things, and they had sharp smells like this one did. Someone's it's not a natural smell. Not a so someone's going to be doing something to the star, and it's not a forged smell either. I mean, forged smell is just charcoal and fire and hammer, and I don't smell any of that. So somebody's doing something else.
Well, let's tie up the horse amongst these trees here, and let's move forward and see if we can meet somebody.
Okay, so you tie up your horse, and I'm thinking that this will be a good point for tonight. We're coming up to 11, so this seems like a good stopping point as you're getting ready to launch in. Before we break, if we could just do what we did last week, and I'll kind of work around and just kind of any kind of comments that you would like to give, any stars, things that you enjoyed about the play this evening, or anybody you would like to spotlight for their play of the game, and then also kind of looking ahead to next week, if there's anything that you would be wanting to look forward to or put on the table for next week. And let's I'm just going to move left to right across the character keeper. So Jason Zanes with Martin, we'll start with you.
Had a lot of fun, and I liked everybody's character. I'm happy to see Brandon jump in today. Wraith is a fun guy. I like his sass. Keep that going. That's very entertaining. It's a good character. I think that's the highlight for me.
Okay. And anything for next week that you would like me to be thinking about, or?
It's I'm not sure how to define it. One thing I did notice, sometimes I was left kind of like wanting more information maybe about different scenes or settings to kind of get a better idea like what I can or should do. So I would say the only thing is if you could add in a little more detail when we enter a setting, just to, so that we have more to work with.
Okay.
That's about it. Everything's great though.
Okay. David, if we can go to you next.
Yeah, I had fun. Thanks again for working with me while I was traveling home. I like the characters. I like the cast that we have now and the kind of chemistry we're getting. It's a fun little adventuring party that we have going along. If I was gonna try and look for anything in the upcoming sessions, now that we were kind of in the ruins, I know that as a part of like my character creation, it had me take a piece of ancient marble statue as associated with these ruins, and I think it'd be interesting to find out if something about that, if that would be an interesting kind of tie-in. But besides that, I mean, I'm enjoying where this is going.
Okay. Jason, the other Jason, how about you?
I am so pleased that I got to speak in Worm. We, Robbie and I had a conversation offline about how I was like, hey, the intelligence modifier indicates how many languages you know. And he threw out a bunch of examples of things that might make sense for me. And I was like, I'm going to talk to some worms. And that's the kind of thing where it's always like, well, I don't know if it's going to come up or not, but I hope it does. But it's really dependent on what the GM decides to do. So thank you for including that, and thank you, Brandon, for drinking that weird mug of mud punch or whatever. The games like this really depend on somebody being willing to be like, yeah, I'm going to drink it. So thank you for that. I too enjoyed Wraith tonight. Thank you. As for wishes for next time, my character has 2 spells, and they're both the kind of spells that are like you can only cast them if the GM puts the thing in it that your spell affects. So if there's any chance that we come across fire or disembodied spirits from another world, then I could cast a spell. But if it makes more sense to do something else too, that's okay.
Okay. And then finally, Brandon.
I too, I like the group. I like the characters and the people too. And it was fun, and I'm getting a hold of the character, and I'm glad that you guys seem to like him. I love trickster characters, and but I've never played a fox before. So that's a new experience. As far as for next time, I don't have not specific subject matter, but yeah, it seems like sometimes you were setting a scene and then waiting for us to ask questions to tease out more information about the scene. And so I'm going to agree with Jason that it makes more sense if you just front the information that we would naturally pick up, and then say, okay, and what do you do? Rather than have a thing where it's like, well, can I find out more about this? Can I find out more about that? If there's something interesting in it, tell us. If you wrote something interesting, don't hold on to it. I'm a big fan of that, as a GM style, that if you put something cool in a scene, come right out with it, rather than wait for the players to kind of extract it.
Right.
Because it's I think it's more I find for me that it takes me closer to the the points of action and decision.
Right.
It's more fun.
Okay. All right. Well, but I had a great time sitting on this side as well. I really I liked Wraith immensely. I loved the interaction that was going on between the characters. There were a lot of kind of moments that I just thought were really kind of very fun and entertaining for me to kind of watch as you all were kind of interacting with each other, or kind of figuring out like what to do with that strange being in the stable and things of that sort. Or and I also liked you know, the attempt to talk to the wyrmlings, which was I guess semi-successful, but just successful to kind of get them focused on you. But no, and the wyrmling thing, you know, that was you know, I'll kind of tip my hat to David, because you're really the one during character creation. I think, you know, both you and Jason with the fur and which became like the fur and skin business, but with the idea that like wyrmlings would show up and stuff like that. So that gave me something kind of fun, you know, between last week and this week to kind of work with. And it's like, oh, and then we got that meteorite, you know, and it's kind of like nice to kind of take some of those aspects that you all are kind of bringing up, and then kind of having, you know, giving me opportunities to kind of play with that type of stuff. So but yeah, the great fun for me, and appreciate you all kind of being energetic and imaginative and creative in your play. And you know, if anything comes up between now and next week, feel free to shoot me an email. You know, Jason and I had a brief exchange going on, and Brandon, I also very much appreciate you doing a little bit of advance work, because it would have been fine if you had showed up and we went through the character generation then, but I also kind of appreciate that you did some of that work to kind of get things moving.
I didn't want to take other people's time, you know, away from the group session.
Yeah.
So, you know, I figured if there were any details that we had to work out, we could figure them out at some point later.
Yeah. But anyway, you know, I hope you all have a good rest of your week and beginning of next week, and I'll see you back next Thursday.
Thanks
All right.
very much.
Thanks
Have
for
a good
running.
night, folks.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.